Too much cleavage.
All right. I think we're live.
Awesome.
Let me make sure that I'm not doubly on.
It's always the first few minutes are always the most awkward in any live.
Just waiting.
Yeah, always, because you're like, I remember my very first live. I was like, "Will anybody show up?" And then
yeah. Well, we remember our first one, and we had no idea what to expect because we had this idea. We're like, why don't we just do like a hustle with us live? And I think like 28 people or something like that, and we were like blown away that like 28 people were there. We're just like, what?
Just listing night, like processing and listing and stuff.
Yeah, you were washing pots and pans, and I was testing steamers.
The steamer went off.
Yeah, the steamer hit the camera. It was classic.
That's hilarious. I mean, people are fascinated about the way people do things, and because there isn't like a cookie cutter way. Like even just the way Eric lists. Do I bring all my stuff out and list them all at once, and then or take pictures and then list them all at once and kind of do bulk tasks, or do I do one thing at a time?
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I think it always depends on the individual too, because people like from my experience, my professional experience, it's all been warehousing, distribution, manufacturing, logistics. So for me, very well trained in Six Sigma and understanding efficiencies and understanding movement and ergonomics and all of that is. I mean, I've been just conditioned to think like that. So for me, it makes total sense to bolt things together. But somebody that doesn't have that mindset, it's like, well, this is the way I like to do it. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with that.
That was my idea, though, batching.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes. I think the biggest question we get is how we inventory.
Yeah, or how we clean pots and pans, which is like it's a very interesting question. But then it's like, for us, it's common because we've cleaned hundreds of them. And then it's like, okay, it makes sense if you're just getting started and you see a bunch of crust on something, like you might not know really what to do with it.
Right.
So.
I know you learn real quick to keep a thing of barkeeper's friend under kitchen sink.
Sponsor us, barkeeper friends.
Oh, we
do it.
Yeah.
I wrote that on Instagram and they messaged me and I was like, hey, sponsor us. Like, what's going on here? And they're like, they said something like, at this time we're full, but we'll consider you in the future. I'm just like, well, how many times am I going to give you free advertisement before you give me $50?
Yeah.
You know?
Like a free barkeepers probably.
All right, a few people in the chat. Stacy, good to have you with us this evening. Anthony, Bluegrass Picker, thanks for coming in. What the hell's Jeremy and George? Good to see you guys as always.
Hello, everybody.
Hi everyone. We can't see. Oh wait, this is private chat. We're not.
I'm gonna say you can also pop out.
There it is. All right, Stacy. Hey, Stacy, how are you? Awesome. Welcome everyone.
Brian Red Dirt Picker, good to have you with us as well. Tim Glock 30, thanks for coming by. Nice. Harry sent you guys over. I saw he was live a minute ago.
I was like, man, it's early for a 2-drink minimum right now for Harry.
Harry's coming out early. Well, he goes to bed early. So
what? I don't know, man. Sometimes he's up like talking with his mannequin until like midnight and then yelling at little Harry.
It's his company.
Yeah.
Hey, reselling is lonely.
Yeah. He has two mannequins up in the house, but
Let's not say anything else.
Started out a collector, man. He got sucked into the reseller world. So Tommy, we'll let you start that out then, bro.
Tommy just wants to see how fast he can get like demonetized and taken down.
Yeah. Star City Picker, good to have you.
Yeah. But I appreciate you guys coming out. We got Mel and Adine here from Hustlin Hooks. So excited to learn a little bit more about them. And we were chatting earlier about some of the cool stuff that Adine's like sharing with us in his background with logistics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So guys, if you want to take a few minutes and kind of introduce yourself to everyone here, and if they don't know who you are, then just give them a little preview.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so my name is Melinda. I go by Mel or Melinda. This is Adine. So we're married. We have an 18-month-old daughter, and we started reselling about a year and a half ago as well, sort of at the same time. So we started that business, and we've just sort of been snowballing it since then. So that's what we document on our YouTube channel, is what sold, thrifting videos, sort of also how we build our business, because that's sort of our long-term goal of making it more of a business that can grow instead of just being just resellers in the future too.
Yeah, Melinda recently quit her office job. She was working part-time and then parenting when she wasn't working. And then so she recently quit that. So now we consider ourselves part-time plus, because we now have 3 days a week that Melinda actually dedicates, between 6 to 8 hours a day on our resale business, which has been tremendous. And our February numbers were actually almost the same as far as gross sales than our December numbers, which obviously, December are two very completely different, months as far as selling and business goes. So that was awesome. I work full-time for Cisco Corporation. I manage food safety programs. I've been managing food safety, food quality programs for many years. I worked in the past with manufacturing companies, logistics companies, warehousing, and now in distribution. So selling things online is kind of like a natural transition where I get to use a lot of my education and experience into this business venture. And and then
my background is like business and customer service. So we combined our forces to sort of create a full business plan.
Yeah, and then we are on YouTube. For you guys that don't know, we're Hustlin Hooks on YouTube, Hustlin Hooks on Instagram. I'll do my quick pitch now. We do have a reselling tracking sheet that I developed that took about 4,000 data points and many revisions. And we've sold a lot of copies, and a lot of people are very happy with it. I don't have any negative feedback on it. So it's a way to, if you're a multi-platform seller especially, it's a way to capture all of your sales, and with automatic calculations based off of what platform, gives you automatic summary, gives you automatic calculation of what you have invested in your current inventory, which is great for tax purposes. And it breaks everything down by month, quarter, and year. It has all your expenses all in one place, so that literally you are tax ready every single day, which is a huge stress on a lot of sellers. So if you guys want to check that out, you can find it on Instagram in a link, or any of our recent YouTube videos. You can find a link there.
Yeah.
And hopefully you guys see value in the tool. And
and we're pretty data driven overall. That's usually what a lot of our videos are about, is sort of how we use data to what we source, what sells, how we source it, how we price it, everything like that.
Yeah. So that's us.
In a nutshell.
Guys, we obviously appreciate you agreeing to come on. I know that we are kind of limited time-wise tonight with Sam and with you guys, so I want to make sure that we open things up for questions from guys in the chat. If y'all have any things that you want to ask these guys, I have watched several of their videos even before I talked to them about coming on, because of exactly what you guys are saying, the whole processes and data that you guys use, because it really caught my eye. I think I first saw y'all on Instagram, honestly, after we had Drew Profit Monster. I saw you guys in the chat. I was like, let's see what these guys are about. And I started watching some of your videos myself, and I was very curious to see how well you guys were doing with limited listing, like in comparison to, you see some guys that are got thousands upon thousands of items in their store, but seeing how quickly you guys are turning items. And obviously that doesn't just happen by luck. You got to put in some work on that. So I kind of would like to know, like, just abbreviated process of how are you guys flipping that quickly on what you're
that's a great question.
Yeah, I think we just kind of caught on really quickly. We honestly don't even remember. We were watching YouTube videos just like everybody else when we sort of started doing this. It kind of caught our eye, and once we figured out sell-through rate, I mean, that was it. Then we started just narrowing down the items that we were picking up, because I was working, Adine was working, we had a young baby at home, so our time was so limited. and our space was pretty limited because we were trying to do it out of one room at the time. It's spilled over since then, but we just needed to have items leave quickly and sell for more. Really, it's just what we needed with those constraints.
Yeah.
So for us, it's basically a combination of sell-through rates. So on eBay, it's basically the way we do it is, how many of that type or that exact item are listed versus how many sold in the last 90 days. We try to stay above 40% sell-through rate. Obviously, there are some exceptions. If you find one of 7 golden eggs, then obviously you're going to list it for sale because there's only 7, and the sell-through rate's going to be bananas because there's only 7.
Right.
But we stay above 40%, and then we also incorporate our free shipping into everything. Right. And that's something that we learned based off of data. And we do have a free shipping video where we used about 1,500 data points where we explain to people how exactly we price our items, knowing that we're going to be shopped by those furthest away because they get the best deal, and really sharing that commerce discount you get through eBay with your buyers, giving them a better deal while also making money. So we've been able since the beginning to average around $27 net profit per transaction. And then obviously, if you're selling a blade, you're going to make $7. And if you're selling a DVD VCR combo, you're going to make $130. So on average, we're at $27 per item, which it's something we're very proud of because that does pretty easy math. We can say, well, we need to sell 100 items to make $2,700, or 200 items for $3,400, et cetera, et cetera. So it's to make that math work for us. So those are kind of the big ones. Sell-through rate, being picky with asking price, making sure that we know what our time is worth. Because my current salary is good, so I know that my time is worth at least that plus some. And so I encourage everyone who's listening right now that if your salary or your hourly wage is low, don't let that decide what you're actually worth, because if you're making $15 an hour, that's not your worth. That's just that position in this period of time that you're getting paid. So don't go off of that. Well, I make $10 per sale. That's pretty good. It's not. You should be shooting for $25, $35, $45 average per sale. It's going to show you as a human that you're worth more. And that's going to encourage you to say, hey, why are they only paying me $15 when I can make $500-$600 a month or a week selling stuff on the internet, and I only sell 20 items, for example. So it's something that, think outside the box. Don't let some corporation tell you what you're actually worth.
There you go. So Tommy asked the question about what percentage of items you guys sell using best offer, or do you use that function?
We did it in the beginning. We don't anymore. We just sell things on Buy It Now. And we sell 1% of our inventory on average.
Per day.
Per day, and then long term as well. If you look at it as a month as well, it works out to about 1% over the whole month too. So
we do send out offers.
Yes.
That's what I was going to ask. The follow-up.
We don't send them out like every day or as soon as someone watches it, especially newer items. A couple times a week, probably, we send out offers. And then it kind of is nicer that way, because if you have multiple watchers on an item at that point, then they get the message that somebody else also got the offer. So in a way, they're like, oh, well, I'm going to buy it because I don't want them to get the offer as well. So it sort of increases your chances, we think.
Yeah, I know that I utilize that function myself, like sending out offers. And I do kind of the same thing. If it's something brand new, I'm like, I wouldn't.
Just be patient.
Feel the waters out a little.
But I price mine up a little bit so I can send out a best offer. Like I don't go low. I come just above medium. Like that's kind of where I start.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing too, because we offer free shipping and everything. We have to calculate the average cost of that item that it's going to ship for. So if we already in the price, then we would be. If we had best offer on everything, then it would be very difficult to manage all of that, because we might make a mistake that's going to turn a potential $30 profit into a $4 profit. If somebody in Oregon or California makes us an offer and something, we're like, oh yeah, we've had it for a while, let's just go ahead and take it. Next thing you know, you made $3, and at that point you might as well deliver pizza, because you're going to money. You know, what's the point?
For sure. I guess Glock had asked is your education in operations, research, civil engineering. Sounds like it from my college days. That's what it is.
Yeah, so I only have a 2-year degree. I have a 2-year degree in applied chemistry, and then all of my skills has just been through training and hands-on experience, just working through levels of corporations. So I started $8 an hour putting boxes in trailers, became a QA technician, supervisor, manager, and then excelled from that.
So what state do you guys live in, if you don't mind asking?
Oh yeah, we live in Michigan.
Okay.
In state.
Sunny Michigan, right?
Yeah, that's what they call it, actually. No, it's actually been like 65, between like 65, 70, and it's like short season up here. Yeah. It's great. The snow is melting. It's awesome.
I'm from Illinois. My wife's been cussing me out because like we went to Boston the week that like the Midwest warmed up, and it's been like it finally warmed up today. I'm like, dang it. That's awesome.
Yeah, I've been in shorts for a couple of days here.
Where are you guys? So you're Illinois, and where are you, Eric?
I live on the Outer Banks of North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
On a little island. Yeah.
Okay, nice.
That's awesome.
Pretty much in the ocean. If you look at the map, there's like a little thing sticking off of North Carolina. That's where I'm at.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, it's funny you said that you work for Cisco. I actually used to do food service myself. I sold food. Nice. But we had to cross train in our warehouse, and learn the whole process. What happens when you order it, where it's stored in the warehouse, how you pick it, how you stack it, how you organize it, like all that kind of stuff. So, same with buyers and truck drivers and all that kind of stuff. So, so I definitely got the process. I'm sure it has been very useful for you with reselling, for sure.
Yeah, they're good. I mean, such a large company, they have to be efficient, otherwise they can't compete.
Yeah.
I'm like, listening to you both kind of like, rattling off, like if everybody kind of knew their store that well, I know I sell X amount of percentage per day of my inventory, and I need to replenish that much, and to even use that data, because how many folks, especially during this pandemic, Eric and I have seen a ton of it. You jump on hype item after hype item after hype item, and you're like, okay, like it's kind of like the stock market. Like if I was just consistent with the one thing versus chasing this thing, and like I've actually lost time trying to learn this new thing, and because I'm not even really that excited about it. I just got excited because I saw someone else make money from it.
Right.
So you guys are like really honing in. I mean, some people might not, feel it's sexy, but like at the end of the day, if you're looking at your bank account, who cares? That's sexy.
Yeah.
That's the only sexy that matters at the end of the day, is how many hours you're putting in to get how much out of it. And it's like the hype thing is funny to me, because it's like you said, it's oftentimes a waste of time. So Dr. Seuss goes hot for a quick second. How much of your time are you going to spend to go look for this thing, or so many other people are looking and bypassing the things that are paying the bills?
We don't do like any hype selling or anything like that. You happen into a trend because bread makers were hot, and we sold a lot of bread makers, but that was almost accidental that we like stumbled into the beginning of the pandemic. And then we had a Dr. Seuss book that we ended up selling, it was sitting on our coffee table, and we're like, oh, that's one of the books.
Yeah, see ya.
But that same season, we weren't going to go around town looking for them, because we knew everybody else was already out looking for them. So it just wasn't cost effective for us.
Yeah, I know when I watched some of your video, well, of course I did watch your recent video when you were climbing in the attic of the garage.
You scared a lot of people.
Yeah, the marriage counseling video, I watched that.
We're fine, everyone.
Yeah, we're fine. We made it. We're okay.
Obviously, you guys do clothing and pots and pans. I've seen that just from what y'all said in some of your videos. So that is like a different venue. A lot of people, household is not really something I mean, you walk past it at every garage sale, it's there. Like, so it's not a hype thing. It's something that is a common thing, but it's also a flip, like everything else.
Our dining table is literally full right now. Melinda processed a bunch of it. It's all housewares.
Yeah, it's all like vintage percolators. What do we got over there? Pots, toaster.
Yeah, toaster.
Some handheld mixers over there.
I mean, think of it this way: like the last 36 hours, we've sold 3 blenders.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and then today we sold 7 pairs of shoes. It's like these are the things that are going to pay our bills. So, you know why? And you can find them so easily, like you said, garage sales, estate sales. Like every single estate sale you go to, that's a house that's from the 50s and 60s. You're going to find vintage blenders. They're there. Every single house has them. So instead of searching for that ultra rare Pokemon card, go flip blenders. Make the same amount of money.
Yeah, we sold a blender for $58 today.
Yeah.
There you go.
You know, and then like competition wise too, you know, how many people going after that, you know, Pokemon card because it's the hype thing versus the blender, you know?
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, it is crazy. I want to recognize a few people in the chat before we get further. Richard, thanks for coming in. Paul, thanks for being here. Emily, Leroy, man, thanks for the super chat, $2. Appreciate that, bro. As always, great to have you. Richard, good to see you, and Fisa, good to see you as well.
Hey yo.
Yeah, that's the thing too, Eric. You mentioned about like data and numbers. Like that, one of the things that I honestly found most shocking. Like I don't. If this sounds disrespectful to anyone in the chat or whoever, then it should be. Then like you should be offended by this. But the amount of people that I realize that don't track their data and their information, especially full-timers that are providing for their family, for me it was shocking because it's like when you go get a job, they tell you get paid X amount, and you know what you're gonna get, and then you budget, of course, you know, and then you spend your money because you know what you're gonna get. If you're reselling and you're not doing that, then like how is this? So like I remember like early on Instagram, I went on there, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. It's always like 2 o'clock in the morning when I have my rants because I'm done with the day, but my mind has a hard time shutting off. And I just basically said something like, if your mom, dad, sister, brother, friend asked you how much money you make reselling, what do you tell them? Like, how do you not know this? You know, and that's one of the reasons why like I created a super simple, basic template, and I ended up giving out like 300, 400 copies for free because it was just so basic. And then I developed the other one, and so many people have found so much value in it that it's like, this is how you're going to learn if you're even making any money. Otherwise, like, if you like doing it, great as a hobby, but the goal is to make money. That's why you're flipping.
Right.
Honing on categories too. Like if you're not, like we learned that we're not really into glassware.
Yeah.
We hate packing it. We're just like, nope.
Yeah, it's inefficient. The risk is too high for damage.
Our returns weren't where everything else was.
But we learned that with data, not by feeling it out. It's just like, oh, this makes sense. So anyway.
Yeah, some of that too, like the education side of it, just like that. Like obviously we know a couple people that flip a lot of glassware, but they know what they're looking at. Like for me, the learning curve to that is hard. Like, I mean, to get to where I can walk in and say, boom, 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 where I'm not picking up an item that's worth $2 and trying to sell it, that kind of thing. And I think that's a lot of it as well. No matter what you're sourcing, if you don't know anything about it, there's more risk for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And glassware, is one of those things.
Yeah. I mean, what people don't realize, like a company like Walmart, you think they just offer cheap stuff. Their logistics is what makes them shine. It's that's if you go to business school, you get an MBA. That's one of the things you learn about is Walmart's logistics system and how tight it is. Yeah. Like, so I mean, it's I think, I mean, I don't know if to take offense to it, but I think, it should force someone who is depending on this lifestyle for, to eat, you should probably know what you're pulling in and not having to, even like for tax purposes, man, like sit down and try to reorganize your life. Like when you could just be sourcing, or selling or listing and making money versus like, being bogged down because you didn't really prep throughout the year.
Right. Yeah, I couldn't, like, we literally, it took us an hour for our 2020 taxes for reselling. Took less than an hour to get it done. It's like, okay, here it is.
Sure.
Because every single, every day, every other day, we're updating our information, and it's always up to date. So, we're all tax ready. And that's something from my work experience, because I deal a lot with federal, state, local, third-party audits all the time.
Right.
So, like, that's been, again, I've been conditioned to always be ready for that, because that's what you're supposed to do. You're always supposed to be ready. So it comes natural to me.
Yeah, especially being audited. That's something, for your average Joe, that can be pretty nerve-wracking too. Yeah. So, to have your ducks in a row with that data tracking sheet that you're offering is pretty awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
It's kind of funny that you said that about, like, going on the rant about numbers and stuff, because the other day I just saw a post, and I know it's probably in a Facebook group or Instagram or somewhere. I don't remember it actually, but I saw somebody that was freaking out because eBay is going to start sending out 1099s for anything over $600. I was like, dude, if you're not already taking care of that, then you should be afraid.
I would need to go back and put that all together.
But it's crazy. I actually use GoDaddy for a lot of my accounting for that.
Nice.
Where I have eBay, PayPal, all that kind of stuff like lined up where it's automatically going in.
Nice.
And then I just use one bank account, because that is the thing. I think a lot of us, you kind of know, that if you're going to be full time with this, or if you're going to use this, depending on it for income, and you're not treating it like a business, then there's going to be problems. All it's going to take is one little thing, and you're off the rails.
Yeah.
So,
it's scary because people don't know, but then once you realize that it's really not that difficult to figure it out, then it's pretty easy. I mean, you have to understand tax purposes. You're getting taxed on your net profit minus your expenses. That's it. That's all that is. You just have to figure that out. And if you can't figure that out, then, I mean, I've seen, like, early on when we started getting involved in this community, people like hiding. Like, I remember, it's like some guy was like posting pictures of all these different accounts because he's going to avoid taxes, and it's like, what kind of life is that? Like, you're basically a drug dealer at that point.
I was going to say, go sell drugs.
Like, go sell drugs. Like, the thing is, like, especially if you're doing anything e-commerce, like, you don't think that they know. They know. It's not just. I mean, it's.
I'd be so stressed out.
Yeah,
I would just be so worried every day.
Even drug dealers pay taxes.
Pizza delivery, you make good money, no stress, no one's after you, and you pay your taxes. Good. Why create all this unnecessary stress in life that's already stressful enough?
Yeah, that's it. And Mel, didn't I see in one of the videos that your mom used to work IRS? Is that what you're saying?
My mom was a manager at the IRS, so we are she had her taxes were audited every year, just as like policy, because if in that position you have to be audited. So we've always been pretty up and up on that. I mean, my mom helps me with my taxes forever, and then we've paid her to do our taxes a couple times, and now we take it somewhere else. But I mean, that's sort of what I have since I was like 16 and had to file my first taxes. Is my mom like you can do this, you gotta do this. Very up and up on it.
I got you. Jimmy, good to see you, man. Thanks for coming by. I when I saw that, I was like, that definitely would put, because I knew your comment in that video was talking about starting to pay quarterly taxes rather than waiting to the end of the year. Because I know, like, there's a guy who works in one of the thrift stores here as a volunteer, one of the thrift stores that you get required to volunteer at. And I'm not sure exactly why he's there, but he told me, I used to sell on eBay, and then I didn't pay taxes on anything. I'm like, I wonder if you're working here on community service. You got some problem going on. So,
it's not optional. I mean, it's you can try to run from it, but what's the point? I mean,
everybody wants to get Capone. Just saying.
Business too. I mean, that's the thing. Like I said, not treating it as a business. I mean, if you're just doing it for a little part-time money, like on the side, and obviously you could be a little bit more flippant with it. But like you said, when you see guys that say, "Hey, I'm a full-time reseller," and they can't even tell you anything. Like, now you just got a hobby that you're spending money on.
Yeah.
Like,
Right. Yeah.
And it's not so much like, it's obviously it doesn't affect us, like it's fine, but like for me, like I've coached people, I've yelled at a lot of people, and it's just like you need to know this for you, because you're gonna become a busy idiot, and then you're just gonna run around, and you're not really gonna know. And it's not for me. I don't care. Like, we don't care. It doesn't matter to us, but we would rather that you're successful and happy, because then there's more happy people, and then everybody's in a slightly better mood, and everybody is not road raging, right? So like, I'd rather have everybody win than not, but at the same time, like, I just want people to understand what they're doing for their own sake, just to see if it's even for them, or to see, like, you know, am I actually making any money here? Because I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough, man. That's, I think, one of the dangers with YouTube and social media is because I think people do get in a thing of looking at people's numbers and saying, oh, or, you know, like eBay, they give you gross numbers. Like, when you're looking at people's 90 days, that's gross. I don't know how much you paid for it. I mean, I got a good idea what shipping and fees are. Like, I for myself, I say 30% right off the top goes shipping fees, taxes, for that's pretty ballparking. You know, it's anywhere from 27 to 31 is what I see for myself personally. But I'm like, beyond that, like, I know where I need to be as far as sourcing. Like, I consider another 20% for that. So basically, whatever that gross number is, I'm saying my net is going to be this. That's what I look at. And it may be better or it may be less, but that's kind of, when I'm outsourcing, that's the things that's going through my brain. Hey, if I can sell this for $100, that means I can potentially make 50 if I get the right price. So if you don't have a clue about that stuff, you're setting yourself up for failure for sure.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. Like, when people share those, that's why we do a monthly breakdown. If you go to our YouTube channel, we break everything down, so you see exactly how many dollars are left after all that.
Right.
And to educate people so they can actually see, like, if we do 14,000 in sales, we only keep 6,500, 7,000 cash after everything else is out the door, which is obviously a pretty good thing. But you need to understand that. And
big sales can be motivating for sure. I think that can be a good thing, but there is a trap of comparing yourself because you're either going to feel down on yourself for not selling that much, or you're going to try to get to that level without really understanding any of the numbers behind it if people aren't sharing them. And then that's just a rabbit hole. And going to when we're sourcing, we know approximately, you know, we'll do the fees calculation. Okay, well, if we sell it for this, then we'll times it by like what we're going to keep, and then factor out the price and factor out the average shipping. So we know before we get it home, is the net profit worth it for us, for our time? So it's just really important to know all that.
And that's why we always harp on data, because like for me, it's not a pot or can or a pair of shoes. When I go sourcing, it's either $15, $30, $60, $100. I'm buying money with money. That's all it is. So the way I think about it, it's like how much work and effort goes into taking this X amount of money, turning into Y amount of money. That's it. I don't care what it is. It doesn't matter to me. You know, if it's a hot item or whatever, the sell-through rate and the net profit. That's all I care about. And that's the other thing where people may get into this trap of hype items. It's like, even on those hype items typically have a really big, you know, they spring up and then they crash. So if you're undereducated on certain markets, you're going to spend, and then it's that tricky time. Like, do I hold it? Do I sell now? Then before you know it, the next day, a Jordan, you know, PSA 10 basketball rookie card maybe goes for 50,000 tomorrow, but then 22,000 a week from now. And those are big numbers. And when you're selling things that are relatively common, you typically don't see those giant influxes and you know, drop downs. So it's a lot of the game. And of course, everybody wants that, to find that rare thing. Why not? You know, it's a bonus at that point.
Right.
Yeah, that's it. Speaking of numbers, welcome Justin, the flipping accountant. Good to see you in here. And Marcus Simo Thrift. He knows all too well. Of course, he says I consult you on taxes unless you're my client.
Good. Yeah, that's what he's supposed to say. That's the way to do it. He knows. I respect that. I respect the people the most when they tell you they can't, or the people that when you ask them a question, they tell you that they don't know. Those are the people I respect the most. And it's like, oh, great. That doesn't mean that you're ignorant or stupid. That means that you're smart enough to actually understand what you do and don't know. Like those are my favorite people. My least favorite are the I think this, I think that, and it's like, okay, thanks.
Tim says if you find a PSA 10 Jordan rookie card for 50, mortgage your house and buy it. Apparently, they're going for way more than that.
Yeah, just an example. Don't quote me.
Yeah, I would.
No.
Yeah.
Find that.
Well, honestly, we saw it with cards, especially Jordans and all that, when The Last Dance came out. Because that's the other thing. If you don't know about trends and where they're at, then, like you said, if you're not the first in, then you're going to be the last.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, psychologically, I mean, I think Adine, touched on this earlier. I'm someone I'm all about gut instinct, but I need something to kind of like rein me in and hone me in, because like it might take me a week to figure out I don't like to sell glass. Like I watched him talk about. Sorry, Tim. I watched him talk about it. He got me fired up, man. And then I bring it home like, damn, this sucks. Well, unfortunately, I was smart enough to only buy one piece and not keep buying more. But like, like just even the other day, like the whole McDonald's Pokemon card thing. I was like, dang, I could go across the street right now and go buy 100 Happy Meals if I wanted to. I bought one. I just want to say, but I already knew, like, dude, you already saw what happened. With everybody on YouTube with cards. And that's where my gut instinct came in. I'm like, you don't want to be left holding the bag. Like, you don't. But in that instance, I could see a lot of my friends, my YouTube friends and peers who've done it, like, that could have used the data and be like, dude, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. And this was such a terrible idea.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, is there's a good balance of, because I know people are really hardcore. No, it's gut instinct. You have to know it. And, you kind of get that feeling once you do start to know stuff when you're walking down an aisle and you're like, this is really good quality, or I haven't sold this before, but it looks like it, based on what I've sold before, this could have some value. So I think they sort of, those are the best of both worlds. So you use your instinct from all of your past experiences to kind of hone in, and then you use your data to figure out, yes, okay, that is correct.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, like I'm a doctor of physical therapy, and we do the same thing, right? If you tore your ACL, and I suspect I would have to collect data and measurements, like when I'm fresh out of school, after my 100th ACL, I can look at you and I already know you tore it without even touching it. So, it's you're exactly right. That data kind of just strengthens your intuition over time, or at least minimizes the amount of time you're wrong.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
That's a great way to put it.
No, and what you said too about like knowing what you like and don't like. Like some people just don't want to clean shoes, and there's there's nothing wrong with that at all. Same with pots and pans or glass. That's fine, because that's the thing. Like, the reselling atmosphere is so huge. There's so many categories and subcategories you can win in every single day that you don't have to, like, if Rinzi, for example, their Instagram and YouTube, they're primarily shoes. That's all they do. And I had a conversation with him. I was like, man, you're at the bins, you see a Rolex, you leave the Rolex alone. He's like, yeah, I leave the Rolex alone because I'm honed in on shoes. This is what I'm focused in on. I was like, well, why wouldn't you collect other stuff and then maybe resell them in bulk? And he's like, no, I'm focused on this. This is my business model. It's like, okay, makes perfect sense. That's what works for you.
Yeah, I think that's actually really cool, specifically about the reseller job. Is it's sort of similar in the fact that everybody's finding stuff low and flipping it higher, but there's so many different avenues, and it's really cool that there are so many different ways to be an expert in something.
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody in the chat, you know, they're like, I fell off my chair, they're not into glassware. Like it's not our thing, and we don't really know what we're looking for in terms of antiques.
Right.
Some people are just making bank on some of those rare glass because they know it when they see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And there's
I think the other thing I was going to say is I think too a lot of it depends on where you're at as to what you can sell.
Oh yeah.
Like, what can you source within reason? Because we know, I mean, for me, it's a multi quantity thing. It's like different avenues that you have to look for, because like if I just depended on my thrift stores when COVID happened, like I'd be in trouble, you know. A yard sales, like obviously where you guys are at, unless people got snow blowers in their yard, but they're not giving yard sales in the wintertime. So I mean, I think it is being creative, looking for what you're looking for, or knowing where to look for what you're looking for, and always be looking for another place to source. That's what I do. I'm always looking for something else.
Well, I don't know if you realize this by now, but I talk a lot. So one thing that I constantly do is I just tell people what we do, like everyone, like they don't ask, they're like, oh, how's your day? I resell on eBay. It just comes out. But that opens up so many opportunities, because like I even talk to my dentist. I'm supposed to hook up with my dentist to buy stuff from him.
I'm still curious how that works. You know, like most people can't talk to their dentist.
I tell them to pause. I can't. It's like, it's been 5 minutes.
I don't. Okay.
They're good at understanding.
It's been 5 minutes. I need to talk right now. And they're like, okay, we can listen. But
so you're asking him for used equipment. Do you have anything that you're going to ready to throw out that you'd like?
Exactly. Yeah. So then, but then think about it. Like, so if my dentist is willing to sell me his old equipment, what about all these other small businesses around your town? What about this company with old phones, old monitors, computers? What about dentistry? What about butchers? What about those old classic knives that are super high-end knives that they're upgraded to? What about businesses like restaurants that have a lot of extra material? So now you start thinking about it. It's like, well, this isn't garbage. Oh, now I just stumbled, instead of going to 17 different garage sales and driving 200 miles, spending 10 hours, I go to one place, I drop 1,000 and I resell for 5,000 or whatever it may be, right? So you just think of it that way. And then next thing you know, it's like, hey, I got this other dentist who has his own practice. He also has stuff. That's the fun for me.
I mean, it's you're right though. I think because we've done some of these shows, and what comes out is this like insecurity in some folks, like to talk about it. There's almost this little hidden shame about reselling. And you're right, man. Like as soon as you talk about it, you brag about it, like I've sourced so much stuff just from telling people. I've stopped sourcing. I just have more stuff that I know what to do with now.
Yeah.
Just like I sell, and now it just comes up in conversation. Hey, what are you selling this week? What are you selling this month? Like I picked up this. You want to check it out? Like, yeah, sure. So that's awesome, man. So I definitely encourage you guys to do what Adina is doing. Is just share your passion.
Yeah. What's the worst thing? They're like, no. It's like, okay. And you just go to talk. I don't want to listen to, like, no one has ever been so rude or disrespectful where they're just like, oh, well, you guys are, taken from the poor and you're criminals. And well, like most people are just like, oh, that makes sense.
But even if they do, they obviously don't understand the basic business concept, and that's on them. So most people, once they realize like you're actually making money doing this, and people can make very good money, I mean, then they're kind of on board. You just basically have to prove to the haters this is a legitimate business.
Right.
I think that's a lot of it, because I think people do have a different connotation. Like I think they think Sanford and Son when you're like, hey, I'm reselling junk, like that kind of thing. But for me, I'm just like you, Adina. I tell everybody. Like my kids are always like, my wife, all them, they're like, oh gosh, here we go again. Like, but I'm like, because of that, though, I get phone calls. I get people calling saying, hey, come and look at this. I get people dropping stuff off at my house. Hey, can I come by and show you this? Is this something you're interested in? So it's one of those things. I think if you don't put yourself out there, then you're just cutting your supply down. Like you're not doing, because like you think about the number of people that are insecure about sharing about it. Could be other resellers in your area that you could be getting way more profitable items than what they are because they're going in there looking for the video game, or they're going in there looking for the card that they might find one out of 100 trips, that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like if you think about the TV show The American Picker, how do you get those phone calls? Because they put themselves out there. So it's like, why wouldn't you? Was it emulate? Is that a word? Emulate?
Yes.
Yes. Nothing. There's almost no business model that hasn't been done before. So this isn't anything new. We're not anything special. You guys aren't anything special. Any people have been bargaining and reselling since the I trade for your gold. Like this has been going on for so long. This isn't anything new. So the fact that you think that you're so high and mighty that someone's gonna judge you for selling an old pair of sneakers and making $20, why is that? You're gonna look down on me because I'm doing hard work? Okay, that's great. I don't care. I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's right. I spin it back on them. I'm like, are you shaming me for working hard and making money?
We're improving our life and helping others. We have a person that we met through social media. That person sends us free inventory. And we've asked several times, do you want commission? Do you want to work out a deal? And they're like, no, I just like shopping. I don't like selling. And I like you guys. So there you go. And so we've made hundreds of dollars off of this person just sending us free inventory. And of course, we thank them and we talk to them and we're in good status with them. But it's again because we put ourselves out there, and it's like, okay, great, thank you. It's so we go home and there's a giant box of stuff. We're like, what is this? Oh, it's from them. It's like, what's gonna be in there? It's like Doc Martens, 4 pairs of brand new shoes, Rock Revival jeans. It's just like, okay, thanks. This is great.
Yeah, it's good. Jimmy said in the chat, all I need is for my bank account to approve of me. Then I'm good at this. Forget what anybody else says. Nobody else is paying your bills. Say, what do you care about what they have to say?
Yeah,
that's the thing.
100%. Yeah, that's the way. I mean, that's the way it should be. But people are people, and people are they get uncomfortable, and I get it. It's not everyone is a social butterfly. I understand. But at the same time, you shouldn't be ashamed of this. I'll give you one example, and then I'll let somebody else talk. And in my current work, there's a set of associates that have been there for a long time doing very similar work. And they haven't done anything else. They've been there for 25, 35, 45 years, right? Long time. And what ends up happening is that it's 5 of those guys. And let's say this guy right here is I'm going to venture into something else. Those 4 other guys drag him down. Well, don't do that. That's stupid. Don't do that. And the next thing, they go back to doing the same thing. Next thing you know, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years pass, and they're still doing that one thing. So if you're in that circle of people that are continuously going to shame you and tell you, no, you're stupid, that's risky, don't do it, then you're never going to grow as a human being, because they're always going to drag you down. Because what do they say in America? Misery loves company. Right? So get away from those people, even if they're your own family. My own father said to me, I don't know, son, there's not a lot of bread in that. Dad, we sold $14,000. Guess who goes to the bins 5 times a week now? My dad.
Yeah.
And my sister and my dad work very well together, and they're doing great.
Yeah.
But at first, he didn't know. And it's not because my dad doesn't love me. It's because he was ignorant to the fact that this is a legitimate business. Mm-hmm. It's not because he hates me and wants me to be miserable. It's because of that ignorance. But now he knows. So anyways.
I think that's one of the things that makes YouTube community, as far as reselling, can be such a positive, because obviously there's negative people like anywhere else, but there is a underlying current of people that, are positive. We've got a bunch in the chat right now. Yeah. Emily Conway is probably the most positive person I've ever been around, on YouTube. So it's one of those things when you are encouraging one another. I do that Tuesday listing live. I'm on for 6-7 hours where I'm just listing, and I've got a bunch of guys coming in, listing, working, doing the same thing. So for us, it is a kind of almost like a drive, a push. Oh man, what do you find? and you're not jealous of what they found. You're like, man, that's awesome. Like, kind of thing. Like that's one of the things I look at and say, I'm appreciative of the community of YouTube resellers who kind of do encourage one another outside, because most people you talk to outside, they don't get it. Like initially, they don't. Like they do kind of look at you sideways, like, wait, you do what? Like that's cool. Like, but they don't know. So to be able to share with other people.
Yeah, it's so important to find people who support you, whether it's people you know in real life or people on Instagram or YouTube. The community is definitely there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
So I guess my next question is, like, for Melinda, is how, are you the one handling most of the customer interactions with your background, or no?
Not really. So we each handle like separate things, but we're both able to handle everything. So generally, because the main app is started on a dean's phone, like usually it's like, okay, well, he's going to handle these questions, but some days it's like, okay, well, if you could just get to it. So I would say it's a mix. And then on like Poshmark, I'm generally the one handling all of those like questions and things like that. And then there are a couple other things, like now that we're on Facebook, when we cross-list, we're cross-listing to our own personal ones. So we're each sort of handling whatever we have listed on there. So I would say it's a split.
Yeah, she does definitely help me as far as like putting, like I'll type something out and she's like, don't say that. I'm like, okay.
Sometimes talking back from a ledge, I'm like,
because I just
let's how else can we say that?
Yeah, I just don't like my care meter is so low because my life's been so weird.
Dean's very fun.
Yeah, I just don't care. And so like when somebody says something to me that's rude, like I just go back and just like I understand they're in a rough spot. Obviously, that's why they're acting like that. Yeah. But sometimes like I just can't hold myself back. Like so, I do my best. Like obviously, I have some. I've dealt with customers as well over the years, but I need Melinda to simmer me down sometimes for sure.
Or sometimes, I'll give it a. Well, they're probably asking it because of this, and I'll walk it back and I'll say, well, maybe it makes sense to you, but obviously if they need more information, it's not that big of a deal. Let's just do this, ABC or whatever.
Yeah.
So joint effort, I guess.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, Dean, like, where is your family from originally?
Yeah. So that's my life story is very hectic. So I was born in 1987. So I was born in what used to be Yugoslavia. So if you know European history at all, it used to be Yugoslavia. Then the genocide happened in 1982. So tough childhood. I didn't have one until 1985. Then we moved to Germany. We fled Bosnia. Then we moved to Oakland in 1989. Then Grand Rapids in 2000. That's where we live now. So because all my uncles went through concentration camps, my father was a prisoner of war. I didn't have a childhood. So for me, like, I don't get upset at things very much. I don't really stress about anything very much because I understand the most severe and crazy thing about called life. And then there's just like, oh, they forgot my onions. It's like, oh, okay. So go and like get the onions and then just put it and then eat it. So that's how my mind works. So like, I just don't care. Like when somebody complains to me or when I recently, like when people tell me how to behave on Instagram, I just lose it. And I tell them like, listen, like you're not like, what position are you in? Like, I don't need, someone threatened to block us on Instagram because of the way I behaved. And I'm just like, why are you telling me this? And I tell them, what is the point of this comment? Like, why? Just click the button, move along. No one cares, Anyways, that's the short version of my life.
It's funny. I know Sam can obviously attest to some of that as well, like coming from other places. So we always talk about first world problems versus other world problems. I was like, we kind of have this, we live in a bubble here. We don't see what's going on everywhere else. I used to own a Subway. So I had a lot of Eastern European students that came and worked for me in the summer. because they can do student visa travel. But it was funny because I kind of, when you started saying that, I started remembering some stuff. One of the first guys I had was a young guy from Russia, and he had like straight demeanor, like he didn't care. So when he talked to people, they'd come up to order, he'd be like, "What do you want?" And I was like, hold on. There's some teeth, man. Like you can't give people that thing. Or if they said, like, he said no. He would tell people, like, they would ask for something. No, you don't want that. Like, I'm like, dude, you can't do that, man. Here in America, people get upset if you talk to them like that.
Yeah.
Back up a little bit.
Yeah.
So then he would force a smile and be like, "What do you want?" So it's funny. Like when you were saying that, I was just picturing that in my brain.
Yeah.
I said, "Man, if you come up like that, like it was very stoic, you know." Probably your parents and grandparents and all that were like,
people have a hard time understanding me. Like when I like, they just have a really hard time figuring out if I'm serious or not. And
sometimes I'm always like,
so I have this like I have a very good poker face, and so I just don't like. I play around with people often. Like I'll tell a quick embarrassing story. I convinced Melinda that I was left-handed for like 6 minutes in the car once, and it was just like then I got offended. Like I was so offended that she didn't know this about me. It's like, how did you don't know I'm left-handed? She's like, well, I don't know. You know, this isn't something that came up. It's like I don't believe like how little you know about me. So it's like, I'm sorry. Anyway, like I just enjoy it because people just get so serious for no reason.
Right.
They have this like demeanor and this like, if I really want to go into my deep accent tone, then people are like, what is this?
Well, I can see too, you know, like you seem like a very direct person. There's no emotion to it. You're just direct, and I can be like that too. And sometimes it's like, well, bro, you need to pull back and like soften it up for somebody. It's like, I'm not trying to soften it up for you. I need to get it like now, you know. Like,
I'm pretty emotionally dead. That's
She's like, no.
No, I get it. Yeah, it just depends on who you're talking to too. But
like sometimes I'm just like, it's been a crazy day and I'll get a question, and even me, I'm just like, oh, I'm not going to answer this right now. Sometimes like, I'm going to come back to this. I can't give a nice answer right now.
For sure.
Well, obviously, man, some questions you get sometimes are just like, are you serious right now? Like, do you have nothing better to do than stalk my eBay store and send me some random question? Like you get
I had somebody ask me to rate a pair of pre-owned jeans 1 to 10. And I'm just not doing that. Like, what is it? Like, what's my 7 compared to your 5? Like, I don't. This is it's. Look at the pictures. This is the condition. I'm telling you, there's nothing wrong with them. It's like I don't know. People are silly sometimes.
Yeah, it is. It is funny. Like you have that stuff all the time, or they don't read the description.
Yeah.
Like, okay, it's right there. See description. Like
that's what it's for. But that's okay. Yeah. So anyone in the chat, do you guys have questions for us specifically as far as what we do, what we're about? Please don't hesitate to ask.
Yeah, I was seeing if we could. There's a couple more people that dropped in. Mike, good to see you, buddy. Miss Annie, thanks for coming by. Appreciate you. Yeah, I was seeing if there's anything else.
You have to check out Emily. Emily, I've seen your name before. I just never. I have to now click around and find you because I don't.
Go on her Instagram. Like she always drops TikTok videos on there.
Okay, awesome.
They're worth the watch for sure.
All right, cool. We'll definitely check it out.
If you need a smile, like,
go to Emily.
Yeah, yeah. She's pretty funny on the TikTok reselling version. So it's good.
Yeah, I mean, Emily's more, she ties a lot of mental health wellness and emotional hygiene stuff into her content too. Because just like we can all just be a little bit happier and not miserable, especially if you're doing this for yourself, for your family, and you're actually, you're in control now, not somebody else in control of you. So it's like, why not cultivate, a stronger mindset, a healthier, emotional base, and not fall apart the second something goes wrong,
Right.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of my thing. It's like if everybody, like if we can, however we can, like through our channels of social media, like however we can try to help people realize some things and help them, even if they only make $500, in a month or whatever, if we can just make them a little bit happier by even communicating with them and talking to them and giving them some feedback and advice, and if that makes them happier, then everybody around them is going to be affected by that positivity. And so, of course, everyone's going to have good and bad days, but as long as we can continue to influence people into a mindset of like thinking for themselves and looking at money differently, looking at stuff differently and each other differently, then what's it worth? Like, I know I'm going to die. We're all going to die. Am I going to be happier dying rich, or would I be happier thinking on my dying days that I helped so many people live a better life? For me, it's a pretty clear decision, like pretty clear aspiration in my personal life. And I know Melinda has very, very similar values as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's good. So, guys, if you are not, we are right at the hour mark. I told you guys that, obviously we appreciate you giving of your time. I know you all got a little one there that you have to get back to. So,
yeah, I was going to do early, but you guys got me hooked. So, I was like, oh crap, I gotta take care of this kid, and I've been feeling like I should stay here longer.
Well, we appreciate you staying. Yeah, our little one's. She's been good though. She's been sleeping sound for several weeks, months now in a row.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we're pretty. You guys, if you have children, you understand that.
That's a plus.
Yeah, it gets. They give some advice to new parents. It gets easier. Just.
I feel you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine are old now.
How old are they?
My youngest is 23.
So, yeah. Okay.
I'm excited.
So we're past all that.
I'm excited for her to get to that. Like, I mean, obviously I want to enjoy all the parts in the middle, but I'm like, oh, that's gonna be really cool when we can, when you go through like the angry teen phase and you come out the other side and then they're young adults, like, oh, we can hang out now.
Yeah. Be friends again.
My wife, when my youngest went to college, she cried for like 2 weeks, man. Like it was rough, like empty nesting. But,
oh man, you're out right now.
Children just change you, man. Like I've become like the other day I took out a couple of coworkers for lunch and there was this mom holding this infant. I'm just staring at this infant. Just like remembering, even though it's not that long ago, just remembering my child, like holding a baby and just like being in love with that, like that strange child, it's someone, just that love. Like it changes you, the way you look at people, and it's just amazing. Like it's obviously.
It's funny because, like, I have an infant. I watch people have that like experience when they see my kid, because he just met my 99-year-old grandmother today, and I could see her wheels just like turning. Yeah. So it's just wild, But yeah,
look at this giant grin on my face.
That's
so awesome. Yeah. That's what it's about. I mean, that's just that's life, man. Like what is all this stuff that we're doing? Like if you obviously for some people that don't have children or don't have a family, it is what it is. It's not for everyone, but for us personally, for me personally, like that's why I have this drive. That's why we have this drive together. It's like we want to put ourselves in a position where we can chaperone every event, where we can be there for not only our, but other people's children if they need us, and just have this community of just. Because we're all here, like we're all stuck on this planet. Like, why? Let's just help and love each other. Like that's it.
Yeah, that's it for sure. So do you guys? I mean, are you thinking like long term as far as like maybe going just straight reselling at some point? Or are you?
We're thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the goal, and then just to build from there too. Just so. Years from now, hopefully we sort of have like a self-sustaining company too, where we're doing reselling for fun and have another main income, like distribution wise, that sort of replenishes itself naturally.
Yeah, for sure. Like we've said this before, and a lot of people get confused by it, but we don't actually want to be resellers, because for like, you know, as a reseller, you understand that it's a pretty straight equation. It's, you know, how much time and effort you put in is how much you're going to make. And anytime you take time off, that dips. So for us, we want to, we're growing a business out of it. And when we get to that point, that's really, you know, as far as full-time resellers, we want to be business owners in this, you know, in this atmosphere of business.
Yeah, you don't want to fall into that employer trap where you're basically trapped. You're your own employee and you're trapped in there.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you know, we're both of us have a pretty good vision as far as what our future looks like. So it's like, do we really want to like scrub pots, pans, and shoes? Like, not really. Like, we enjoy the process, but not really is the answer.
I think for me, like, I want to be able to feel like I can take, you know, as my own boss, one of the perks is I don't have to ask anyone to go on vacation. And if I want to take a month-long vacation, I want to be able to take a month-long vacation. It's hard to do that when the reselling game is like the constant replenish. Go out, find it. Then I got to clean it. Then I got to list it. Then I got to sell it. Then I got to pack it. Then I got to find some more stuff. Then I got to, so that's sort of my big drive. Yeah.
You just sounded like Eminem. Also, fun fact, like I seriously, I gave this woman one song because I really enjoy Eminem. I enjoy hip hop in general. And so I gave her like with lyrics on screen, because Eminem obviously raps super fast. First try, she just like reads it off, same speed. It was like,
it was
second try. Like, I can't read that fast. I'm not, you know, it's a different brain. But that, like, I don't know. I fell back in love with you.
He's never loved me more.
Yeah. Kent Dago says lifestyle design is the major key for sure.
Yeah, man. Yeah. What do you want? I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with Joe Rogan podcast. Years ago, I was listening to one of his, and he said something like, if nobody in their right mind, if you gave them 7 days to do whatever they wanted to, no one would be like, well, for 40 to 45 hours, I'd like to sit in a cubicle and answer phone calls from upset people about something that I don't have control over. Like, nobody wants to do that. That's not a human thing to do. So then my instant reaction was like, well, what do I do? Like, how do I get out of this thing? You know, like, this is not life. This corporate thing is not life. That's not having a job and a career for me. That's not life.
Yeah. There's so many things to see in this world, and I want to be able to get to them all.
Yeah.
Well, that's the career. The career is to allow you to experience life. You know, that it's just a vehicle.
Yeah. Agreed. Very well said.
That's it for sure. I know for me, like, I've been self-employed now for like 15 years. I could not imagine going back to having to punch a clock. I just can't. I just can't do it. Like, it's funny, even with reselling, like you're saying. I tell you what I do now, though, is I look for those long weekends. Like, if I don't have a show on a Monday, that's a great weekend. Like,
for sure.
But
and so do you, Eric? Do you do everything yourself as far as reselling?
Pretty much. My wife had a stroke in 2001, so she's like disabled. So I do most of it, like probably 90%. Like, she does help me with some things that she's able to, but I do most of it by myself. I just grind at it, you know, pretty much. I'm actually looking to hire this summer. My plan is to find a young person to come in and put out like a little ad about doing data entry, and pretty much that's what it'd be. So get them to come in, you know, maybe 4 or 6 hours a week, just kind of take pictures or list or do something like that. But just like what you're saying, I don't want to do this forever. I want to get to the point to where I can hand off some responsibilities, you know, however that looks like. Because I do enjoy the sourcing end of this tremendously, but you know, and I would love to travel around and just do that, you know, like have a little RV, roll around the country, find stuff that you like, bring it back, have somebody at the warehouse packing, shipping, listing. You'd be straight.
That's ideal. Yeah, that's something that we've definitely talked about many times, and that's the thing. Like, you just have, for me, you have to understand what you need to live off of. So let's say you built your business into like let's just draw some numbers like $250,000 a year or $500,000 a year in sales. If you know that you realistically only need like 50,000 to live, build in those margins, and then you can have a general manager or a couple of associates part-time that run, because then you just have to make a few good decisions throughout time, and you're good to go. And that's my idea. Like that building is what I really enjoy.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of for me, like I said, from working for myself for so long now, it's like definitely one of those things that you look at and say, long term, where do you want to be? I mean, I'm 46. I don't want to be doing this when I'm 65, like as far as me listing, doing all that kind of stuff. But I can see how you can scale this thing up quicker than most businesses. With what you're doing. Like a lot of you've talked about numbers and just being more calculated in what you're doing, obviously learning curve involved in that, but so it's good.
Yeah, that's the goal. That's what we're working on. I mean, obviously we have to keep replenishing and keep it going. In the background, what people don't see is what we're planning to do in the future, and that's something that we have to continuously discuss and talk about, and it's fun. I mean, it's fun to look ahead.
No doubt. So what about YouTube side of things? Like, are you guys still on the push with that thing? Like, I know you guys have hit some small milestones along the way for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we'd actually like to put out more content. If we're both full-time on it, definitely that's something we'll be able to do more, because you have to plan that in, obviously, in the editing and everything. So, I mean, YouTube is pretty fluid. We have a lot of good ideas. Like, our main thing is we want to educate people on how to have a successful business and how to resell. But we're also debt free, and that's something we're very passionate about. So down the road, we'd really like to sort of incorporate that, how we got there, things like that.
Yeah, we want to talk about money because it's
a
lot of people don't, and we want to talk about money because from our point of view, it's like, if you listen to a Warren Buffett or a Bill Gates, then of course, like, they're going to give you advice, even a Dave Ramsey or someone like that. But obviously nothing wrong with those guys, but those guys are all in their 50s, 70s, and they're multimillionaires, billionaires. So for me and you and everyone in the chat to relate to them is a little bit difficult. So from our point of view, it's like, well, why don't we just kind of keep it simple and tell people what exactly we did as a couple in our mid-30s that are 100% debt-free. I think a lot more people can learn and engage and say, like, oh, this is real, because obviously Dave Ramsey is a very educated guy in finance, but I can't relate to him. He's had 50 more years to build his wealth than I have. So how am I supposed to, obviously I can listen to the fundamentals, but I can't really relate to it. So that's something we definitely want to do in the future is have a segment either on a separate YouTube channel or as just a part of us. So we'll see how it goes. Again, like Melinda said, it's really right now a time restraint. There's only so many things. So I think Anfisa said you guys should go on TikTok. That's another thing. It's like that's great. I'm sure it would be great and it'll be fun. But how many platforms? Every single thing that you do, you have to dedicate X amount of your energy towards. And
hours would I get stuck watching dance videos? That's the real question. It would be a lot.
Yeah,
a lot.
That's stuff you manage.
Yeah. Well, we talk about all this stuff, and then like when I think back of like my social media presence, it's like, am I here to just, brag about what I'm doing, or am I here to make money? Because that's what it feels like after a while. It's like, hey, I've got all this cool stuff. Check out all, it's like, and it's like, Eric and I talk about this a lot. It's actually deterring me from actually investing time in the actual thing that makes me money. Now, whether or not I need a data sheet to tell me that, I don't think so. It's very clear, like, shoot, I haven't made a sale this week because I've been editing too much and not listing enough. You know what I mean? Like, so, so it's that. I mean, it's great. Like if you see guys like Jeremy, like from What the Hales and what they've been able to convert their channel into, monetizing on one end as well as having the auction side of things. That's great, and it feeds itself. But
yeah, I mean, it's definitely like social media, specifically YouTube. It's definitely a long-term thing. Like I think a lot of people, like we get, we just reached 13,000 subscribers. Our channel is healthy. It does well. We're pretty consistent on it as far as we put out. But it's almost like for me personally, like I encourage people to do whatever they want to do, but just understand that the grind to get to this fairy tale of monetization is a long road. And then when you get there, it's not some crazy thing. Like if you're right around that 1,000 to 5,000, subs, you're making, if you're good, you're making like $12 to $30 a day, which isn't a lot of money. So if you understand that it might take you 5 years to make $100 a day, it all depends, right? Who you are and what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. But you have to understand that. And it's like, if you understand that, then go for it. But if you think it's some sort of thing where like, you're just going to pop to the top and all of a sudden you're a YouTube millionaire, it's probably not going to happen. But that's kind of the general thing in life. It really relates. Like, anything you do, you have to work on it for many, many years to be good at it. Period. There's no shortcuts in it. So if you're dedicated, you can do it. But if you're not, then, I had a very close friend of mine who was like, oh, I got the GoPro. I shot the video. It was like, hey, man, before you make the next 15 videos, really think about if this is something you like doing or want to do, because I don't want you to make 15 videos and spend 70 to 150 hours doing this and then realizing that you wasted 150 hours. I'd rather tell yourself now and then bank those 150 hours for something else.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's my advice for anyone.
Well, I'm sure it's kind of like your education, right? You didn't mind putting that 2 years of free work in, right? Like, and you paid for it too, right?
Yeah.
Like with the expectation that it's going to pay off. And so I feel like we had that attitude towards YouTube, that you're just investing in something that's going to grow for you in the future.
Right.
And not wanting that immediate gratification, or not even being disappointed when you get the first, Tommy will joke about this, first quarter from like your month of being monetized. I think it's managing expectations, like you were telling your friend.
For sure. Yeah, I was pretty excited. I think our first payout or our first time we made any money was like $10. It was like, whoo!
Yeah.
Like, look at that. And it was like,
but to be making money off something like that is just kind of like,
And then,
it blows my mind, to be honest. Yeah.
For us, it's fun too, though, because it's
Our purpose wasn't really to make a bunch of money on YouTube. It was to bring content that was valuable to people.
Yeah, and then get paid for it. But that's the beautiful part about YouTube, is that like the subscriber gets it for free, and you get paid by them clicking skip ad. So it's a pretty perfect system if you think about it. Like, you put in work and effort to grow and continue your channel, and even if you're just entertainment, you're brightening someone's day for free. That's awesome. And then you get a bonus of getting paid. I mean, that's, how cool is that? Like that opportunity didn't exist 30 years ago, whatever.
Yeah, sure.
So I think that's pretty cool. So
yeah, it is for sure. Well, guys, if anybody has any further questions for these guys in the chat, feel free to drop it in. If not, we're going to start winding this thing down. I know we're over time, but we definitely have enjoyed you guys being here and the knowledge you bring. And it's great to be able to interact with you guys more than just watching your video. So that's cool as well.
For sure. Likewise.
It's always great. So it's
for sure. No, we do appreciate you guys having us on. I've watched you guys' live streams before. I've seen your videos. I've seen your content. So it's always nice. I think sometimes we forget that we're just humans.
Yeah.
We're all just humans, regardless of our
sure.
background, of what we're doing on social media. And sometimes it's nice to just connect with other humans. And most of the time, what I find is that most people have more things in common than not, and I think that's very good for the overall community to just have people interact with each other, and
yes.
Yeah, it's fun
for sure.
For sure. Well, guys, do y'all have anything coming up, like new videos or anything coming out that you kind of want to talk about? Obviously, if you missed the beginning, you know, these guys do have this spreadsheet that the link is in their YouTube and also on their Instagram that help you out tremendously. If you have any questions about it, I'm sure they're open to answer whatever you got. Probably hit them up on IG would be the best place to get up with you.
Yes.
We're very responsive.
Yeah, that's exactly
right.
For sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I don't think.
I was just gonna say, I don't think we have anything crazy upcoming, no special announcements or anything.
Just grinding. I mean, that's what we're doing. After this, we're gonna do some more work, get to bed. No, I mean, it's pretty much for us. It's just keeping it going and keep growing as people and as humans and as business owners, and just figuring out the next steps and going from there. I mean, it's every day is a new opportunity to better our future, and that's what we're interested in most of all.
That's right.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Awesome. Well, good. Well, thank you guys so much for having us. We really do appreciate it. Talk to you guys, and you know, it was
it's our pleasure to have you guys on for sure. Emily, if you will drop that link before we get out of here for that tomorrow night. Also check that out. Emily has an interview with Angie Resells tomorrow on her channel. And also, Jimmy Old School Flips is on at 9:30. So if you guys want to go check out Score, feel free to do that as well. Sam, any last words from you?
No, thank you, Dean. Thank you, Melinda. Appreciate you guys coming out. And I hope all 23 of you guys learned something. If you didn't catch the beginning, go back and just listen to what their thoughts on just having your business be data-driven and how life is easy for them.
Well said. Stress-free, man. That's what it's about. Awesome.
Hey, thank all you guys in the chat for being here. Obviously, appreciate you guys for all that you do in the reselling community, and I'm glad to bring some new faces to you guys on Friday night. So look forward to seeing what the future holds for everybody here. Y'all have a good evening, and we will catch you next time. I'll be listing live on Tuesday. Feel free to come and hang out 9:30 a.m. Have a good night.